Hello students, welcome back. So let us start with our next amazing chapter, The Lady with the Lamp. So this is a story about a girl whose name is Florence Nightingale. Florence Nightingale was born to a rich English family. Her parents were fond of travelling. In 1820, when Florence was born, they were in the city of Florence, which is located in north central Italy. So, this is a chapter based on a very famous nurse student whose name was Florence Nightingale. She was a girl and she was a very determined and courageous nurse, and this is a very inspirational story that how we should help other people just like Florence Nightingale. Today, the very name hospital reminds us of proper treatment, clean environment and caring nurse. There is nothing unusual in it. But 150 years ago, the scene was quite different. Even in the prosperous nation like England, the condition of the hospitals were awful. So what do we mean by awful here, students? Very bad. So now the narrator is saying that today when we hear hospital, it tells us that everything is going to be clean and there is going to be proper treatment and clean environment. But 150 years ago, there was nothing like this. Hospitals were very dirty, and even in prosperous nations like England. What do we mean by prosperous? Samrid. So even in prosperous nations like England, the condition of the hospitals were very awful. During that age, Florence Nightingale spent all her life looking after the sick and wounded and improved the hospitals. Hospitals we see today were the dream of Florence. So this lady took up a charge 150 years ago to change the structure and the environment of the hospitals we see today. The hospitals we see today, students, are very clean and proper, but even 150 years ago, they were very bad. The conditions were very bad. She dedicated herself to translate this dream into reality. So, Florence Nightingale took the charge to change everything about the hospital condition that was prevalent at that time. Florence was brought up in England. Her father was against school education and taught his daughters at home. So, Florence Nightingale never got a formal education and she was taught at her home only. Florence and her sister Pathy learned subjects like philosophy, mathematics and foreign languages from their father. Florence also helped her mother in household work. Like any other little girl, young Florence played with her dolls. Sometimes she pretended that one of her dolls was sick. So, when Florence Nightingale was very little, even at that time she used to play with dolls and she used to pretend that one of her dolls is sick and she used to treat her doll. She pretended to take care of the doll very affectionately. Very caring, she used to take care of her doll and made it well. From childhood, she used to write down her ideas. So, Florence Nightingale used to write down all of her ideas. At the age of 17, she had a dream like a Joan of Arc of France. So, Joan of Arc actually had a dream. So, she had a similar dream like him. She wrote her experience as on. So, now Florence Nightingale is writing her experience, what she saw in the dream, as on 7th February 1837, God spoke to me and called me to His service. So now she is saying that I had a dream and in my dream God told me that I should come in His service. Then onwards she was in the search of right path to reach her destination, and from then on, after seeing that dream, Florence Nightingale went on her path to search that what are her ambitions and what is her destination. Young and beautiful Florence was the center of attraction amongst the aristocrats of London. What do we mean by aristocrats, students? Rich people of London. But she was not satisfied with the glamorous aspects of her life. So she was never satisfied with all the glamorous, all the richness she was seeing around her, and she always wanted to serve humanity. Deep in her mind, she always had a desire to serve God and waited eagerly for her chance to do so. So she was waiting eagerly that God should give her one chance to serve Him. In 1842, a famine broke out in London. People suffered a lot in both towns and cities. So what do we mean by famine here, students? It means that the food was in lack and people were starving of hunger. Starvation made them sick, and as a result hospitals were full of patients. Starvation means, students, bhukmari. So every person in England and even in town, they all were starving out of food because they had no food, and the hospitals were filled with patients. Florence was very upset to see the misery and wanted to look after the sick, and Florence wanted to look after all the sick people. This very thought showed her the way to serve God through service towards mankind. The condition of the hospital at that time were pathetic. Pathetic means very bad, students. The condition of the hospital at that time, they were very bad. There was no fresh air, clean surroundings and well-trained nurses. So the hospitals at that time had nothing. The hospital had no clean air or the clean surrounding or even well-trained nurses. Florence came to know about these conditions and became all the more determined to serve the sick and improve the poor condition. She decided to become a nurse. So now Florence Nightingale actually got to know her destination, her goal in life, that she actually want to become a nurse and want to serve humanity and mankind. Her desire was not at all liked or encouraged by her parents. So her desire to become a nurse was not encouraged by her parents, but she anyway went on forward and became a nurse. They were very angry at the very idea of her becoming a nurse. A rich and young lady like Florence would work at a dirty and a shabby hospital. Her mother refused to listen about this any further. So now her mother is saying that you are so beautiful and a lady so beautiful, how can you go and become a nurse and you have to work all day in dirty and shabby hospital? So I don't approve of this thing. But this discouragement could not break the strong determination of Florence. So now Florence Nightingale was very determined that she wants to become a nurse and she is not going to listen to anyone and she wants to serve humanity. She started reading books about medicine and nursing. Whenever the Nightingale family went out for holidays to other country, Florence always took a chance to visit the hospitals to these countries. So whenever her parents used to go and travel to other country, she started reading books about medicine and nursing. Whenever the Nightingale family went out for holidays to other countries, so whenever her family used to go on a vacation to another country, she always made sure that she visit the hospital across that country. So this brings us to the end of the chapter, students. I hope you all learned a lot from Miss Florence Nightingale and her path to success. Thank you.